Hello and welcome back to the Authentic Alana YouTube channel and this Thirsty Thursday, your moment to pause, take a sip of information, knowledge and insight and start to gain more information to support you on this journey of life. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I am honoured to be sharing this space with you for the next little while, and I am honoured that you have chosen to listen to me today. Grab a cup of tea, or chuck me in your AirPods and do some jobs while you're listening. Today, we are jumping into talking about expectations. Expectations for our kiddos, but also expectations for ourselves, and how expectations can dysregulate our nervous system and create a space that is overwhelming for us, resulting in the fact that we may get nothing done. We're going to jump into all of this and more on Thirsty Thursday today. But as always, let's take a moment to drop in and connect. So just taking a moment now, feeling your feet on the floor, or maybe your bottom sitting in the chair. Placing your hands in your lap or on your chest if that feels comfortable for you. And just lowering your gaze or closing your eyes, whatever feels safe for you in this moment. Today, I want you to just notice. Notice your breath moving in and out. Maybe it's moving in through your nose, feeling cool as it enters your nostrils. Maybe you can notice it moving down the back of your throat, down into your lungs. And maybe you can't, and that's okay too. Maybe you can notice it in the rise of your belly as it fills with the nourishing air. Or maybe you notice it in your out-breath, moving out through your nostrils, maybe a little warmer than when it entered. Or maybe you notice it coming out your mouth with a little bit of a sigh. And maybe you don't notice it at all. And that's okay too. Just taking this moment here. Short pause in amongst a busy day, in amongst the to-do lists, the expectations, the shoulds. Just taking a moment. Let's take a nice gentle breath in through our nose together, filling up our belly and our chest and letting it out with a sigh. Letting your shoulders relax, maybe giving them a wiggle. Maybe really feeling your feet on the floor below you. And when you're ready, returning to this space with me, Alana, ready to jump into our Thirsty Thursday for today. Okay, so expectations. I bet even just in that practice, you might have noticed yourself thinking, I should be able to feel the breath coming in my nose. I should be able to breathe deeper. I should be able to get it right. Or maybe it's in the little moments throughout the day where you expect yourself to not yell at the kids, even though you're juggling 48 different things at once. Or maybe it's at work where the to-do list piles up and it's actually other people's expectations on us that cause our system to overwhelm. Those are the expectations on ourselves. Sometimes they're imposed from the outside, but most of the time we impose expectations on ourselves, and a lot of the time we cannot meet these expectations. But more on that in a little bit. Who's ever heard themselves say, if you're a parent or an educator or someone who's ever been around children, they should know better. their behavior should be better than that. Shouldn't they have grown out of that by now? Again, these expectations that we place on our kiddos, just like the expectations we place on ourselves, can be overwhelming and can create dysregulation in our nervous system when we're unable to meet those expectations. From a nervous system perspective, a should is detected by our nervous system as a danger. And as we've explored previously, when our nervous system detects danger, it goes into protection mode, into survival mode, generally first into the sympathetic fight, flight, or active freeze response. And then finally, if we can't resolve the issue through that means, into the shutdown dorsal response, trying to protect ourselves from something that we perceive as a danger. And shoulds are perceived most of the time as a danger because we can't meet them from both ourselves and from our kiddos. So why are expectations or shoulds such a tricky thing for our nervous system to manage? Often, our expectations are unrealistic, particularly of our kiddos. One of the biggest things that comes to mind in the time that I've been working with children is the fact that they should be able to sit still. So things like being able to sit at the dinner table for an extended period of time, being able to sit in class without moving for an extended period of time. These are expectations placed on our kiddos that are actually unrealistic. Their bodies are literally and biologically made to move. We expect our kids to be still when actually, biologically, their body can't. In fact, as an adult, how many of you can sit still for an hour and listen? I would bet none of you. I certainly know that I can't. So unrealistic expectations can be the bottom line behind so many behavior challenges for both our kiddos, but also for ourselves. So another piece I want to delve into here as we look at expectations is where we get these expectations from. Society has given us so many expectations that sometimes we're not even consciously aware of. Sometimes we are moving through the world with these unconscious expectations that we haven't even really questioned. So for example, who has an expectation that children should be seen and not heard? Who has an expectation that children should be able to sit in class for 30 minutes to an hour without moving, speaking? Who here has an expectation that as a parent or an educator or just a person living in this world, that you will be calm all the time? Who has an expectation that you will do everything, be everything, support everyone, and not drop any of the balls? All of these expectations are put on us from society in many different ways, and often we are moving through the world operating from these expectations without us even really noticing it. So even just bringing conscious awareness to what our expectations are and why can shift things in a hugely supportive way. So let's just take a moment to look at expectations from our brain perspective. So our brain develops from the bottom up. First, in utero, the lower parts of our brain begin to develop. The parts that are all about survival. Things like regulating our temperature, our heartbeat, our breath. The parts of our brain, the brainstem, that regulate these functions below conscious awareness. These are the parts of our brain that develop first. These things continue to develop for the first 8 or so months of our life as well. For example, things like the suck, swallow, breathe reflex and other reflexes that develop to support us to be able to stay alive as we move into this human world. From birth to 2 years, the part of our brain that is hugely developing is called the cerebellum. And this is like the motor center of our brain. It governs movement. So when we expect a 2-year-old to sit at the table and we look at it from a brain perspective, how does that make sense? Their brain is developing at such a rate to support them to crawl, to roll over, to walk, to all of these things to do with movement, to develop their gross motor skills. And then we expect them to sit down and not move. You can see how unrealistic expectations begin to evolve. The next part of our brain that develops from about the ages of 1 to 4 years is the limbic system, and this governs emotion. And this part of our brain isn't actually fully developed until we're into our 20s. And the limbic system is all about emotions. Has anybody ever met a 1 to 4-year-old? So when we are expecting 1 to 4-year-olds to regulate their emotions, this is a really huge expectation that most of the time will not be met because that part of their brain is rapidly developing and supporting them to have this huge range of human emotions, to make sense of the world and to start to develop their personalities and the ways that they're going to be in the world. Of course, we need to support them through that, but if we expect them to regulate when most adults, or a lot of adults, can't do that for themselves, do you think that we've got a bit of an unrealistic expectation there? And what challenges do you think are going to arise? What behavior do you think we're going to see when the children can't meet those expectations? And in fact, we know that if we haven't developed these parts of our brain fully when we're children as adults, we can struggle with these things as adults as well. So when we are expecting ourselves to do things in ways that maybe haven't been consolidated and integrated as children, we again have unrealistic expectations. Not to mention that we all need co-regulation, that we all need support, that we all need help on this journey of life, yet we always think that we should be doing it alone, or we always think that we should be managing everything by ourselves. Sorry, not always, but a lot of the time. I'm speaking from my own personal experience here. So here we are with all these unrealistic expectations. And then we have these behaviors and these responses and we feel guilty and shame ourselves for them and our kiddos too. So what do I do with all of this information, I hear you ask? I would invite you to start thinking about a reframe. So with our kiddos, let's start there. Often it's easier to start with someone else. When our kiddos are behaving in a certain way, when we are feeling overwhelmed by their behavior or something that they are doing, we can simply take a moment and ask ourselves, is my expectation developmentally and age appropriate? What that means is, 1, does it match their age for the expectation I am asking? So for example, we wouldn't ask a 3-year-old to draw a Picasso. An extreme example, I know. And maybe some 3-year-olds can draw Picasso. I can't. But generally just asking, is this expectation age appropriate? And by developmentally appropriate, I mean sometimes we have kiddos who actually their age might be, say, 7, but developmentally in terms of, say, social and emotional development, they might be working at a 3 or a 4-year-old level. So we can't have expectations of a 7-year-old when their developmental level is actually 3 or 4 years of age. So I invite you to ask the question, is this expectation developmentally and age appropriate for my child? Or for this child in this moment? The other question I invite you to ask is, what's this behavior trying to tell me? All behavior is communication. whether it's from our kiddos, from our partners, our friends, our family, or from ourselves. Every behavior is trying to communicate something. And often the communication is, I can't meet this expectation right now. And then I invite you to gently shift your expectation, to name it up and apologize for having an expectation that was too high, for naming it up and saying, I can see that I want you to put your shoes on right now, but that's not something you can do by yourself right now. Or I really want you to sit at the table and eat your dinner so you're safe, but I can see that your body needs to move. So let's finish this piece of food and then let's do some jumping together. Finding ways to support our kiddos with their needs in an age and developmentally appropriate way may then support them to do the things that we actually want them to do. Or maybe they just need help, and that's okay too, because we all need help sometimes. So there's your reframe for your kiddos. Is this expectation age and developmentally appropriate? And what is this behavior trying to communicate to me right now in this moment? And now our expectations on ourselves, our shoulds. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I shouldn't be doing this. So many expectations that pile up and overwhelm our nervous system so it feels like we can't even breathe anymore. So what if we put a reframe on expectations for ourselves as well? What if instead of asking, or instead of saying I should be doing this, we ask, what do I need in this moment right now? What do I need to support me to meet this expectation? What if we bring a little bit of curiosity and a little bit of wonder into why we want this behavior or action or thing to occur? Is it actually really important to us right now in this moment? Or is it coming from an unconscious place that we're not even aware of? As I said, bringing this gentle awareness can sometimes be enough to help shift things. So that's a lot. Expectations, they are everywhere. We are expected to act, look, behave, be, and do things in a certain way in every area of our life. And sometimes we have no control over these things, but a lot of the times we do. In your relationship with yourself, in your relationship with your kiddos or the kiddos in your care, we can take a pause, take a moment, and check in with whether these are realistic expectations and check in with what we need in this moment. Strip away the shoulds and the shouldn'ts. Strip away the guilt and the shame and just listen to your body, to your mind, and to your intuition. And know that it will lead you in the right way. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope that has given you a glimpse into expectations, and especially unrealistic expectations, and a way to reframe those to support you to move through the world in a way that is more supportive, connective, co-regulating, and safe for you. I would love to hear in the comments some of the big expectations you have, or some of the reframes around unrealistic expectations that you have had in the past that you are reframing now. Generally, when we share, somebody else is having the same thought, the same process as us, and it can support other people when we share. So I would love to hear in the comments below any ahas you have had from this video on expectations. And if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed right now after all of this information, jump into Try It Tuesday this week, where we did the self-care pose from the Embodied Toolkit from Mark Walsh. It is a beautiful one to take a moment to pause and ask yourself, what do I need in this moment to practice self-care? So check that out if you're feeling the need. And as always, thank you so much for being here. I am so grateful to have been able to share this information with you today and to continue on this journey of life life with you. Have a wonderful week ahead, and I can't wait to connect again sometime soon. Take care. Bye.